Caitlin Clark, the early frontrunner for 2024 WNBA Rookie of the Year and third on the bookies list to win the WNBA MVP, isn't attending the 2024 Paris Olympics. And experts and the U.S. committee have revealed why Clark isn't there. According to outlets and experts, Clark's omission from the U.S. women's basketball squad came as no surprise to many in the women's basketball community and those who actively watch the sport at both the NCAA and professional levels. And they said that only to the casual viewers, many of whom began following women's basketball because of Clark and her trademark 3S, her removal was an outrage and made no sense. I disagree, but let's dive into Team USA's reasoning to leave Caitlin Clark at home. Let me know what you think of their reasoning as well. The last one will certainly shock you. In their quest for a record 8th consecutive gold medal, the Americans overcame Japan 102-76 in their opening pool game on Monday and beat Belgium 87-74 on Thursday. The United States went 4 for 20 from 3 versus Japan and did not sell out the 27,000-seat Pierre-Mauroy Stadium, so doubts about Clark's absence and whether she should have been on the squad arose again. Clark is not the one pushing the conversation. She admitted last week that she wasn't necessarily bummed about missing the Olympics. "I think the break's definitely been good," Clark remarked. "I think it gives you something to work for, sure, and something to dream of. 4 years comes fast. You gotta start working now if you want that to be your dream. So I think that's it for me. Work hard, and hopefully you can be there." Clark, the previous 2 seasons National Collegiate Player of the Year, is a fantastic talent with a promising future in both the WNBA and USA basketball. She's virtually a certainty for the 2028 squad, and it's exciting to think of all the records she may set and the audiences she'll command in Los Angeles. However, her achievements to date do not qualify her for Team USA at this time, at least according to Team USA. Here are some reasons why. 1. Clark did not earn her spot. Clark's timetable did not coincide with Team USA's training camp schedule, which was beyond her control. For years, USA Basketball has attempted to coordinate its Olympic training camps, which are effectively tryouts, with the EuroLeague calendar, as so many athletes play overseas during the winter. This implies that training camps take place during EuroLeague breaks. This is not ideal for a collegiate player's schedule, especially one who has led her team to consecutive Final Four appearances. Clark never had the opportunity to play with this ensemble, which has been around in one form or another for years. 2. Chemistry. Clark's first few weeks in the WNBA demonstrated that developing an on-court connection with teammates takes time. Chemistry cannot be pushed, particularly overnight. Because international events are almost solely dependent on age prior to the senior national team, think U19, U16, Clark, 22, has never played alongside anyone on this squad. The Americans are strongly predicted to win their 8th consecutive gold medal, despite the fact that they have rarely played together this summer. Their debut game was on July 21st during WNBA All-Star Weekend, and they lost 117-109 to Clark of all people. The core group of this squad has been together for years. 7 of the 12 players were on the Tokyo roster, and 4 of the 5 newcomers played with other Team USA members during the WNBA season. Yet they still struggled with timing, defensive miscues, and other concerns in the All-Star game. 3. Physicality. Much has been made of Clark's physical play during her first season, with many new fans claiming that players are dirty. With the exception of Kennedy Carter's hip check, which was appropriately classed as a flagrant one, Clark has dealt with some classic welcome to the pros brutality. The W is a rigorous league made up of mature women who perform year-round. In contrast to the Big Ten, which is an offense-forward conference, the league's finest teams take pleasure in their defense. Clark is a 6-foot, 152-pound player who has occasionally battled with the roughness of professional basketball. FIBA is even more intense. In the USA's opening game against Japan, Ka Copper almost fractured a rib while trying for a rebound, while Sabrina Ionescu was knocked unconscious by a screen. Fortunately, Copper only lost her wind, but it knocked her out for a few minutes and forced her to sit on the bench for an extended period of time. Adjusting would be difficult, and injury was a risk. 4. Turnovers. Do you know what happens when there is no chemistry? Turnovers. You know what happens when you're not accustomed to the defensive toughness of international games? Turnovers. Do you know what stats Caitlin Clark leads the WNBA in? Significantly higher assists and turnovers. Clark is at her finest during transition and enjoys putting on a show. This results in some risky passes, and the Olympics are not the place for that, especially when you are expected to not only win gold, but also win every game you play. Speaking of turnovers, Chelsea Gray, the starting point guard for Team USA, had only 1 against Japan. She also had 13 assists. 5. No senior team experience. Yes, both Breanna Stewart, competing in her 3rd Olympic Games, and Diana Taurasi, competing in her 6th, were nominated to the Olympic squad immediately after college. The main difference between then and today is that both Stewart and Taurasi have senior national team experience. The 2016 Rio Olympics were Stewart's 3rd major international event, and Taurasi had appeared in 13 exhibition games prior to her debut in 2004. They were familiar with the system and their colleagues. 6. Defense. Clark, as you may have heard, is notorious for being offensive. Defense is another thing. With the Indiana Fever, this is fine. Clark accomplishes her task, which is to pass the ball and score points. However, because the United States has so little time to work together and any opponent is capable of causing harm, strategizing around a strong player is uncommon in international competition, according to Aja Wilson. Help defense might be sparse, therefore every player must be ready to guard one-on-one. Opposing attacks would charge directly at Clark, exposing her greatest weakness. 7. USA doesn't need her for ratings. Clark's rivalry with fellow WNBA newcomer Angel Reese has contributed to high TV ratings, despite the fact that the USA does not need her. However, as The Athletic reported immediately after the roster was published, many fans have been watching Olympic women's basketball for years, despite the fact that the USA basketball dynasty is largely seen as unappreciated. The previous 4 gold medal games have had an average viewership of more than 8 million. The USA-Japan game garnered an average of 3 million viewers Monday, more than any other men's or women's game at the Tokyo Olympics, except for gold medal games. Have you watched the games? 8. Who is left off the roster? If you're going to argue for Clark's inclusion on the roster, someone else is left off. So who will that be? Taurasi, 42, is an easy target. However, her significance extends well beyond the stat sheet. Her teammates would be the first to acknowledge that her expertise and understanding of foreign teams and individual players is extremely beneficial on the court. Coach Cheryl Reeve said Monday that Taurasi is frequently the first person, player, or coach to see what the defense is doing and propose how the United States might react. Her leadership is also important. Bottom line, Clark is not a superior individual all-around player than anyone else on this team. 9. She barely plays. Clark would not play much because she is not better than anyone on this squad, and arguably not better than the other guards left at home, including Arike Ogunbowale, Kayla McBride, Ariel Atkins, and Dewana Bonner. Maybe the United States will cruise through the competition, but it is worth noting that it took a buzzer beater to defeat Belgium in February's Olympic qualification event. In a tournament with this much pressure, you don't just put someone on the roster for pleasure, they have to be able to assist if another player falls injured. 10. A generational player is not a show pony. The majority of the arguments in favor of including Clark on the team have come from those who believe she would have brought in new fans and helped expand the game. However, someone of Clark's brilliance and status should not be reduced to a sideshow, as would have occurred if she had been to France. A player of Clark's level deserves more, such as her Olympic debut in 4 years, when she will be a key contributor and much more well-known on the global stage. So, these are their reasons, but do you agree with them? In my opinion, she should have been there passing dimes and scoring 3s. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below.